Welcome to a demonstration on data entry for activities and emissions for the air emissions inventory, electronic reporting for large inventory types. In this demonstration, we'll discuss how to update your activity for your processes and for your process emissions, how to review your facility emission totals before you submit that data to the MPCA, and also how to attach supporting documentation to your submittals. When you go to the login page for the air emission inventory section of eServices, above the account number and password fields, you will see instructions. And within the instructions is the eServices administrator phone number. So this is the person and the number you would want to call if you ever get locked out of your account or if you forget your account number. Once you log in, under the compliance heading, you'll select Air Emission Inventory Submittal-CEDAR, and this will take you to the list of services page. Before we get into the demo, a couple things to highlight are that we're using a test website for this demonstration. So at the top of the screen, you see the word test, and then you'll see some links here that you will not see when you're logged into your account. You will not see the reload reference tables, and unless it's the fall review period, you will not see the link for download air emission inventory summary. If you only have a preparer role for one or more facilities, you will not see the submit emission inventory link or the grant preparer role link. Otherwise, you should see all the links listed here if you are either the preparer or the submitter for at least one facility. Some other things to note are that we recommend that you do not use your internet browser's arrow buttons to navigate from page to page. Instead, use the links, and then for the pages that have buttons, use the buttons for navigation. Also, you should only have one person making changes to the data at one time, making changes and saving changes to prevent confusion. And then finally, before we get into the demonstration, on every page you will see this link to a help file. The help file has detailed instructions, step-by-step instructions, has more detailed information on for each of the pages, definitions on the different fields, and then some links to MPCA pages that have some forms that pertaining to permitting or other forms that may be helpful for updating your facility's information. So to begin, we will go under Prepare Emission Inventory, Prepare Inventory Submittal Online, and you'll select your facility. And this first screen that lists your facility IDs, the name and the address, it's asking for you to double check that information to see if it's accurate. If it's not correct, and you can click on the help file link. And if you scroll down just a little ways, you'll see this how to make changes to your facility's permit information. Within this guidance is a link to a page with forms for updating your permit. So if the name has changed or the address has changed, there's forms at this location that would update that information. After you've reviewed your facility's information, click on Next, and that takes you to the Select Task screen. The Select Task screen has several options that were discussed in the previous demonstration. For this demonstration, we'll briefly go over a second time the facility and contact information section, but then the focus will be on updating activities for your processes and updating your process emissions, and then viewing your facility emission totals. So quickly, just to reiterate, it's the importance of going into the facility and contact information section and making sure that the contact information is up to date. The person listed under this section will receive all email notifications regarding area emission inventory, reporting periods, and anything else to do with area emission inventory. Also, this person will receive the invoice for the annual area emission inventory fee. So it's very important that you make sure this information is up to date. So if we go into the process and throughputs, we'll see all our processes listed. And we want to make sure that we have our throughput amounts updated, and then our operation activity, hours per year, days per week, hours per day. And then if you need to, you can also update your seasonal activities. We will go into this process emission unit 1, process 1, which is a natural gas burning boiler, and we want to update the throughput amount. So we'll change it to 2500 E6FT3, which is million cubic feet. And we'll leave the operation information the same and save that. And then if we go back to the select task screen and select process emissions and go to the emission unit 1, process 1, we'll see that the throughput amount has been updated to the 2500 E6FT3 that we entered on the process and throughput page. So there's a lot of information on this process emissions page. A couple things to point out before we get into the data itself. So on this screen, on the top you have, and on the bottom there's buttons for the previous process, next process, add new pollutants. Now there's a separate save and remain button, and a save and close button, and a cancel button. So when you're navigating from one process to the next, if you click next or previous, it will hold on to any changes you made on this page, but it will not commit the save to the copy record. So in order for a permanent save to be made, you need to click either save and remain or save and close. Above the table, there's this filter by drop-down, which allows you to select or filter the pollutants being displayed to either all the pollutants, just the air toxics, criteria air pollutants, or greenhouse gases. The first row of the table shows your process ID number, so emission unit 1, process 1. It shows a subject item for the unit, which is equipment 1. It lists the definition provided by the facility for the emission unit, and then it lists the source classification code and the process description provided by the facility. The leftmost column is where you would see a delete button. In this case, all these delete buttons are not editable, or they're grayed out, because anytime we have, or the system has, a generic emission factor for a pollutant, you will not be able to delete that pollutant. You can change how the pollutant is being calculated, how the emissions for that pollutant are calculated, but you cannot delete the pollutant. If you wanted to report 0 emissions for a given pollutant, you would have to first change the emissions calculation method from the generic EPA state factor to anything else. In this case, we'll just select other factor, and we'll select the default throughput material, which is the natural gas, and then you would just put a 0 for your emission factor, which will obviously calculate 0 emissions. So your option, instead of deleting pollutants, you would put a 0 factor. but just make sure you change the emission calculation method first. So one of the things to note on this page is you'll see some of the apply control efficiency boxes are checked when you first come in here, but you can't uncheck them. And the reason for that is because these generic EPA state factors that are being used in the calculation are controlled factors, and so you cannot uncheck, or you can't affect the control efficiency because you're just using a controlled factor. If you wanted to be able to apply the efficiencies listed here, you would have to first change the emission calculation method to something like other factor, and you could still use your natural gas or whatever your throughput units and enter in either the factor you want to use. And then it'll calculate emissions. As you can see, 26.25 tons of emissions. But then if you click the apply control efficiency, it'll use the capture and control efficiencies listed here, and you'll see the emissions change from 26.25 to 9.45 tons. Also, if you have stack tests, you would want to change the emission calculation method to stack test. And let's say your stack test emission factors are in hours of operation, so we'll select hours of equipment, and then you'll have to enter your annual hours of operation. Enter in the stack test factor. And then your emissions will be calculated. And you will not be able to select the apply control efficiency because you have selected the stack test. So stack test factors are assumed to be post-control, so you cannot apply additional control efficiency. And then it's also required that you have a stack test date listed. So this was an example of a typical calculations for a process that the system has generic emission factors for. One other example we want to display is if you go back to the select task screen and select process and throughput, we'll go to this process that has a surface coating source classification code. So what I would like to point out here is that sometimes if you come to this screen and the default throughput material and units are not what you want. For example, if you wanted to report if you track your coating mix in gallons instead of tons, there's no way to change that on this page. What you would need to do is enter a 0 value for your throughput amount here if you are not wanting to use the tons. And if you go back to the process emissions page and select this process, on this page you can select gallons of coating. So tons of coating will populate when you first come in here. You would change that to gallons of coating and then enter the appropriate value along with your emission factor. So to just show this a little more clearly, so say you come in here and you have VOC emissions calculated, but you wanted to report your PM10 filterable. Click on Add New Pollutant, select PM10 filterable, hit Continue, and as was just explained, you'll see the tons coating mix default that you entered on the process and throughput page of 0 coming over. So again, we want to change this to gallons of coating mix. Then you'll just have to re-enter the number of gallons, and enter in a factor to calculate your emissions. And we'll save and close out of that, and that will take us back to the process list. And we've updated everything we want to update, so then we will go back to the select task screen. And now the other thing I wanted to demonstrate or to show was the view facility emission totals option. So this will list the emissions for all pollutants for all of your processes, as well as facility totals for each of the pollutants. So when you first come in, you'll probably see it defaulted to criteria air pollutants, but you can change that to show your air toxics. And since there's so many air toxics for some processes, you may need to scroll back and forth to view all of them. But emissions for processes that have, for all the processes that have emissions will be listed. Once you've reviewed your facility emission totals, you would go back to the select task screen and click on list of services. And under the same link we were just under the prepare emission inventory, we were just in the prepare inventory submittal online section. But once you've updated all your data, you can also attach supporting documentation by clicking on attach supplemental files to emission inventory. Select your facility and then navigate to the place on your computer that has the file you want to upload. Once you've uploaded the file, by clicking open, once you've uploaded the file, you would select the document type, and we will select general calculations. Just simply click attach file, and then you will see the file listed here. You can attach multiple documents with the caveat that you can only attach one document with a specific document type. So for each document type, you can only attach one document. Here we have stack test results attached, general calculations, and if you wanted to attach a file with and identified as general calculations again, so currently it's 2016 EIS submittal summary, and we're trying to attach updates needed for 2017. If you click attach, it replaces the file you had with the new file, so you can only attach one file for each document type. Once you've completed that, click on list of services, and then your inventory should be ready for submittal. The process for submitting is covered in a separate webinar for validating, reviewing, and submitting your inventory. So that concludes this demonstration on updating your process activity, your process emissions, viewing your facility emission totals, and attaching supplemental files. Please refer to our additional recordings for guidance on how to update your facility structure and how to submit your inventory, and also refer to the help file for more detailed instruction and guidance on how to report your air emission inventory.